So you've made your feature film, you're ready to get it distributed, so that way you can actually become successful as a filmmaker. But there's a lot of distribution companies out there to screw you. My feature film was stolen, and here's that story. Don't forget to sign up for my free 20-minute course on the 5 most common reasons that low-budget films fail and how to avoid those problems. Links in the description. Hi, Rich here, and as a filmmaker for over 20 years, it's my goal to help you, a motivated filmmaker who's wanting to make their first feature film, to minimize the risk of failure and maximizes your chances of success. Today, we are specifically talking about the standard distribution route and the standard distribution method. My story and what happened to my film. When I first made my feature film, The Beast, before I was even fully finished with it, I registered it on IMDb, and I began to get calls from sales agents and aggregation companies trying to actually get my film. Now, what is a sales agent, or what they call a producer representative also? They basically take the film and they find a distributor that's interested in the film. So it's basically a middleman. That middleman reaches out to distribution companies and they try to bring them films that they think that they will like. This can be a good option, but more than likely it's just a middleman that's going to take another chunk of the pie. And here's a secret. There's a lot of distribution companies that own the sales agents. So that just means in the end, when they go, oh, here's a film, I found a good distributor. It's because they're owned by them, and they'll just hand it off. So now you lose 10% from the sales agent, and then you lose your 50 or 30% or whatever your agreed upon amount is. But in the end, the distribution company is still getting the bigger chunk of the pie. Though it may not be absolutely wrong in every scenario, I recommend never going with a sales agent or producer representative. So I was getting these calls with The Beast. It was the end of 2016, and I was getting calls, probably 2 or 3 different calls from these sales agents promising me the stars. Like, hey man, there's no reason we can't just take this film, throw it online, and make a quick $150,000. Or one even person said $250,000. There's no reason we can't just do that real quick. And definitely not the truth whatsoever. Not with these low budget, no named actor films. So thank God I didn't go with one of those sales agents or producer representatives, and I believe you shouldn't either. However, I still made a massive mistake when it came to distributing my film. So I made a list of distributors, and you might ask, how do you get a list of distributors? That's going to be in my marketing plan video that I'll link in a card right there for you, so you can go ahead and check that out. Also link in the description for how to make a marketing plan and get a list of distributors. But basically, you Google it. Once you reach out to all these people with your EPK, your electronic press kit, and you are talking with them, there's going to be some that will never reply. That will be the most of them. Some that do reply may not even watch your screener once you send it over to them. And the ones that do reply are either A, desperate, or B, really have a great plan for your film. Being able to talk to them and communicate with them, I think, is the #1 key to show that there's a legitimate or a good business person or a good business model, when you can call someone and contact them quickly and they contact you back. That was my biggest mistake with this particular company that I used for my first feature film, is they were very difficult to get a hold of. So after I got the contract, I read it over very carefully. So did my friend. We read over and over again. However, none of us are lawyers. We had no idea what we were looking at. There were a lot of things that were massively controversial. However, we just simply missed it. So we brought our contract to a guy who used to write contracts back in Hollywood. Right? Smart idea, huh? Right? Oh, there's no camera down there. But instead of actually taking it to a lawyer who knew what they were talking about, we just took the general advice of somebody who thought they knew what they were talking about. Not that this person was wrong, it's just that they were not specifically trained in this type of field. So tip #1 would be take it to an actual lawyer. Here are the biggest mistakes that I believe that I made and missed in the contract that you want to look for if you're going the traditional distribution route, that you want to look for to protect yourself and protect your film. Number one would be the time period. There are some contracts that last up to 15 years. This is a death sentence. Don't do that. I have mine set at in between 7 to 0. I won't say specifics because I've got to be careful for legal reasons, but mine is somewhere in between. And in a few years, my contract should be up and the film will be mine again. If you set your contract and it ends up being a bad contract, then it is locked down for 15 years. That's why I'd recommend you negotiate keeping it as low as 3 years with a minimum guarantee. A minimum guarantee is where they are required to reach a certain level of their estimate. You can ask them, you give us an estimate on what you think you'll be able to sell this for, and if you don't reach that, then I get my film back. Otherwise, at the end of the 3 years, if you're reaching your goal that you quote, then our contract will auto-renew. The other mistake that I made was I didn't put a cap on the expenses. So what frequently happens is they'll take a film like this and they always skim off the top all the expenses, but there's no accountability for the expenses. So they can say that they had to make a poster, they had to pay a guy to fly it to a film market, they had to have special meetings that cost a lot of money, and the dinner, and all of that is coming out of your film's revenue. So unless you have a cap on expenses for your film, then they basically get to gobble up every single dime that the film makes, which is where my film is at right now. It has every single income gobbled up in the expenses that it costs to deliver this film to the different platforms. It's a way to make sure that they keep making the money off your film and you don't. Loss of ancillary products. So if you read Alex Ferrari's book, Rise of the Film Entrepreneur, you will understand that a film is just a gateway to make money and turn your movie into a business. Ancillary products are additional products that are in addition to it, such as training courses. Well, I don't have it here, but for Monster Gold, I'm making a little survival pack. These ancillary products, if they own the ancillary rights, then you can't sell any additional products such as t-shirts, hats, and things like that. You must try and retain the ancillary products as much as you possibly can. I also lost the DVD rights because they verbally promised to me that they were going to try to sell it on DVD. But of course they're not. They haven't even attempted to sell this on DVD, which at this time, streaming is everything. I understand why they don't. But if I have it on DVD, then I can sell little press kits, which are really awesome little kits and memorabilia about the film that you can sell to promote your movie. But if you don't have the DVD rights, then you can no longer sell any ancillary products or anything related to the film because you literally don't have the rights to it. Then the last mistake that I made on the contract was the performance guarantee, which we've already talked about. Had I said, this film needs to perform X dollars by X time, otherwise the contract is done, I would definitely have my film back, and then I would be self-distributing this. But because I don't have that performance guarantee, unfortunately, I'm probably never going to see a dime for this film for the next couple years until I get the rights back. So the biggest tip is that you make sure you have your contract reviewed by an entertainment lawyer, someone who specializes specifically in this. And I understand that's going to take time, that's going to take money, but the biggest problem is so many people lose their film and they get it tied up into legal stuff. I personally know 2 friends right now that have their 3 that have their low-budget feature films, just like yours and mine, tied up in legal stuff because they didn't have a lawyer actually look at this, that the lawyer's going to be looking at it for their best interest rather than the distributor's best interest. I'm going to go ahead and link to that video right here specifically about how to build a marketing plan, and link to another video here that's going to help you maybe raise money for your feature film. Don't forget, in the meantime, always be creating.